likewise language.
A set of signals that can, which is communication with others.
Yes, it's a set of signals that we use to communicate. Or you can say language is a way of communication. We use it to communicate with other people. But the question is, do animals have their own ways of communication? Yes, they do. But we said we have some differences between a human language and animal communication. What are those differences? Taqi, what are those differences? Number one.
Animals do not have a system of writing.
Exactly. Number one, human languages have a system of writing. It means human languages write. Sorry, humans write, but animals do not write. Yes? Yeah.
Human language is flexibility.
Flexible. Or you can say human language have the characteristic of flexibility, or you can say human languages are flexible. What does that mean?
Flexible is you can explain the things for another word.
Yes, you can actually, let's say, express the same thing using different expressions. Give me an example. You can actually say the same thing using different expressions. This is the characteristic of flexibility. What does that mean? What does it mean? Give me an example. An example. Yes, what's your name?
It's
Lama. Yes, Lama. Yes, good. So to actually say the same thing using different expressions, we said, for example, you're walking down the street and you saw a very huge building. You can say, this is a very huge building. Or you can say, this is a very big building. Are you saying the same thing? Yes. This is flexibility. It means you can actually say the same thing using different words, different expressions. Number three. Three, yes. Amr, right? Yeah.
Human language is accurate.
Good. Human languages are accurate, or you can say human languages are precise. The word precise has the same meaning of accurate. So special words in the language have special meanings. When I say, for example, this is a desk, it is a desk. Okay? I'm referring to this item. For example, monkeys have their own ways of communication, but they say what? Random voices. Okay? Do these voices mean something? They don't. Okay? They are random voices. They don't mean anything. Not just like human languages. They are very, very precise, very accurate. When you say something, you mean something. You don't just make random voices. Okay? Number 4.
human language is productive.
Yes, human languages are productive. It means they have the characteristic of productivity. What does that mean? Yes.
It has its rules, such as present continuous. So every word has its productive.
You could have a rule and you can produce an infinite number of
Of
forms.
course, yeah.
So she gave us an example of the ing form. We all know that the ing form attaches to verbs. Does it attach to nouns? No, only to verbs. So you say walking, you say swimming, and so on. So you have one rule, but you can produce an infinite number of sentences. Another example I talked about last time, another example of productivity. Okay, also we said last time that you have, or we say English sentences start with a subject, then a verb, then an object. How many sentences I can produce using this rule? Infinite number of sentences. Infinite, it means unlimited number of sentences. This is countless number of sentences. This is productivity. Is this clear? Yeah? Number 5. Yeah, I guess it's number 5. Number 5, yes.
Human language are arbitrary and semantic in the same time.
Exactly. Human languages are arbitrary and systematic at the same time. How can we explain this? Do you remember how I explained that? Okay, it's a little bit contradictory. Because if you say human languages are arbitrary and systematic at the same time, it sounds a little bit, confusing. How can we explain that?
For example, we call this a desk, but we don't know why we
Exactly. There is no intrinsic relationship between the word itself and the item, for example, itself. So you say, this is a desk. Why do you call it a desk? Nobody knows. It's random. It's arbitrary. Why is this a door? Nobody knows. There's no relationship between the word door and the item. This is what it means, arbitrary. And you notice in other languages also, they use different words for the same thing. Why? We don't know. This is random. To actually choose names for things in any language is very random. Why do you call this a chair? Nobody knows this. That's arbitrary. When they invented the English language, they decided to call this a chair. But why? No reason. Arbitrary. Number 2, we said it's systematic at the same time. What does that mean? What does that mean? What's your name? Amal.
Have rules and system to the name of things.
Yes, you can say that. Also, it has rules. Yeah, when you talk about, for example, the ing rule, when you talk about the rule of starting English sentences with subject, verb, then object, it's a rule. You have a system in here. So you don't actually say words just like, let me give you an example. The door, the desk, the chair is be walking. Did you understand what I was talking about? No. In order to say a meaningful sentence, you have to follow a system. You have to follow a rule. And that's what it means when you say human languages are systematic. However, they are arbitrary. Is this clear? Yes. Do we have any other characteristics from last time? Yeah, I think it's 5 or 6 characteristics of human languages, or what makes human languages different from animal communication. Animals do not have a language, okay? You can say animals communication. Good so far? Also, we talked about language as an abstract, and we said it can be physically realized into 2 things. Speech and writing. It means, can we touch language? No, we cannot. But actually, it has 2 physical realizations in real life. We use language in speech, that's physical. You can hear speech. Okay? And writing. Also, you can touch writing. You can see writing. It's concrete. It's physical. Okay? I think also we talked about the medium. So do you remember this?
Yes.
We talked about this last time. And we said language is an abstract entity that can be physically realized into speech and writing. And of course, you have a medium. For example, what is the medium for speech? Air. Or it could be phone. So you can actually orally communicate with someone by phone. Yeah? And the medium for writing is paper. Yes. We talked about this. Do you have any questions about that? Okay. Also, if you have here the differences between speech and writing, we said we're not going to focus on that. It's actually pretty obvious what the difference is between speech and writing. Yeah? Okay. Also, what I think I talked about is language components, or the components of language. Okay, listen to me. If you listen to me very carefully, and if you focus in this class, studying would be very easy for you, and you're going to know what to focus on for the exam. Okay. Last time we talked about, this is a review. It means we talked about this before. Yeah? We talked about the components of language. We said linguists, I'm not talking about phoneticians, because I was giving a phonetic class. Linguists said we cannot study the language as a whole, but we have to divide the language into components to make the studying easier. So we cannot actually study the language as a whole. In order to study any language in the world, you have to divide that language into components. What are the components of language? Number 1, sounds. Language is made up of sounds. Language is made up of words. Language is made up of phrases and sentences. Language is made up of meaning as well. Yeah? So those are the components of language. We can say language is composed of these 4 components. We said since linguistics is the scientific study of language, it means we're going to study the sounds scientifically. Okay? It means in a scientific way. So they decided actually to have technical terms for that. Technical scientific terms for the studying of sounds. And they called the science that actually studies sounds in linguistics phonetics and phonology. We said phonetics deals with sounds. Phonology deals with sounds. But actually we're going to learn what the differences are between these two branches of linguistics. Number 2, words. The studying of words, or the scientific study of words, we call that morphology. This is going to help you when you want to register courses in the department. So you say, for example, a friend of yours saying, actually, I registered for morphology class. You're going to know that your friend is studying words. Or your friend said, okay, I'm actually taking syntax this semester. What do you understand? What they are studying? They're studying phrases and sentences. This is like the scientific term for the studying of phrases and sentences. We call that syntax. Okay? And if you study the meaning of these phrases and sentences, we call this semantics and pragmatics. So, semantics deals with meaning, pragmatics deals with meaning, but both of them have their own differences. We're going to talk about this later in the course. I mean, why do we have two branches of linguistics that deal with meaning? There must be some kind of a difference between them. Right? We're going to talk about this later. Also, we said the order here is not random. It means we're following a kind of system here. It's not random. Also, the order of the chapters here, you have the chapters, for example, we're going to start with phonetics, then we're going to talk about phonology, then morphology, then syntax, then semantics and pragmatics. Do you think we're doing this randomly? No. We're following a system. What is that system? Yes. Lama.
Sounds, because the sounds make words and words make a phrase and sentence, then we understand the meaning of the...
Excellent. This is the answer. Why? Because the smallest unit of language is sound. The sound is the smallest unit of language. Now, words are a little bit bigger. It means words are made up of sounds. And phrases and sentences are made up of words. And you think about the meaning, it's actually beyond the words, beyond the phrases and sentences. That's why we have them in this order. So we're not actually going to do this randomly. We're not going, for example, to study semantics before phonetics. We cannot do that. Why can't we do it? Because we're going to follow this order. Start with the smallest unit of language, then a little bit bigger, then a little bit bigger, and so on. You see what we're doing here? Why we actually chose to start with phonetics and end with pragmatics? Good so far. Do you have any questions about this? Okay. Today, actually, we're going to talk a little bit about phonetics. Okay? Phonetics is the first branch of linguistics that we're going to study. Okay. If we try to define phonetics, which is a branch of linguistics, what could we say? What could we say about phonetics? Yes, Lama.
That deal with sound.
Exactly, you can say that. Okay, it doesn't have to be, your answer doesn't have to be using very big words or very big technical terms. Just say what you think of. So I just said phonetics deals with sounds. So when I ask you what phonetics is, you can say, okay, phonetics is that branch of linguistics. It is a branch of linguistics, right? That deals with sounds. My question is now, does it deal with any sound?
No.
What kind of sounds it deals with? Speech sounds. So it doesn't deal with any sound in the word. For example, if you hear any sound in the word, phonetics doesn't deal with this sound. It deals with a specific type of sounds, which is human sounds, speech sounds. So this is a sound. This is a sound. Does phonetics deal with this sound? No. It deals with a specific type of sound, which is human sounds or speech sounds. Speech sounds, just like, for example, the sound ta, the sound ba, the sound ma. So phonetics actually studies these sounds. So this is the definition of linguistics. What is phonetics? Phonetics is a branch of linguistics that aims to study the sounds of human speech. Okay. Okay, if you're interested in this, some of the students asked me for the slides of every presentation that we do. Hopefully, I don't know actually how to use Moodle, but we're going to check with someone who actually can use it, and maybe we can actually communicate through Moodle. So I could actually post all of these slides that are given my lectures, and you can actually study them at home. Or you can actually watch the lecture when they download it, or upload it, sorry, when they upload it to the site. Okay? Okay, so this is the definition of linguistics, phonetics. Let's try to study this definition. So it says, phonetics is a branch of linguistics, yes, because we have a number of branches and we talked about them. Okay, what is the goal of phonetics? Phonetics studies the sounds of human speech. Notice, if I asked you about phonetics and you said, phonetics is the study of sounds, full stop. Is this definition accurate? No. It's not accurate. You have to say it is the study of human sounds. Because we do have a science that actually deals with any kind of sounds, and we call that science acoustics. We're not interested in that, but for your information, we call the science that studies any type of sounds, we call it acoustics. For example, when I did this sound, acoustics deals with this. It deals with any sound. But phonetics, it deals with a specific type of sound, which is human sounds or speech sounds. Okay. My question is now, why do we need to study phonetics? I don't want you to see because I need you to think of that. So question number two, why do you think we need to study phonetics? Is it important? Are we wasting our time here? Why do you think we're studying phonetics? Taqi?
To know where the letters come from now.
Exactly, good. You mean the sounds, not the letters, yeah? Yeah?
How to spell the letters.
Exactly. How to pronounce. Okay, the word spell is very different from the word pronounce. So, why do I need phonetics? Number one, it's going to help me pronounce English words correctly. It's going to help me to pronounce properly the English sounds. So this is the two reasons why we actually need to study phonetics. So we're not actually wasting our time. Nobody is wasting their time. We're studying phonetics for a reason. And we have two reasons here. Look at number one. Phonetics will help you improve your English pronunciation. So when we actually study phonetics, you're going to see your English pronunciation is going to get better. Yeah? Number two, phonetics will help you pronounce English words correctly. That's why sometimes if you speak to a native speaker and you notice that this native speaker actually does not understand what you're saying, you could be pronouncing these sounds incorrectly. Yeah, and that's what we're going to do here. We're going to practice how to pronounce English sounds. I'll give you an example really quickly. Is this the pen that you used to write on boards?
I think so.
Okay. Okay, I think I can write with my... Okay, I'm going to try this. And let's see what happens. Okay. No, it doesn't work. Yeah, it works with my finger. So I'm going to try my finger. Look at these two words in English. Oh, it doesn't work this way. It needs the pen. Okay, I think I used something. And I forgot what was it. Just a minute. I don't know what... Okay, I can use this. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Okay, I forgot what to use. But, okay, I'm going to check with the technician later. But what I needed you to know is that, for example, let's have two words just like park and bark. I need to write this.
The pen.
Search for the pen icon or something.
You mean, this is the pen. And what am I supposed to do now? I need the pen? Or maybe I need to...
Turn it on or something. As a button something.
Yeah, it works now. Look at this. We have two words. No, it doesn't work. I don't know how they use that. Anyway. If you think about the word park, okay, I'm going to spell it P-A-R-K. write this. P-A-R-K, and the word bark, which is B-A-R-K. So the first one has the P sound as in Palestine, and the second one has the P as in Paul. Okay? Let's look at these two words. Actually, there was a funny story. There is a funny story about these two words. Now, the word bark means to bark like a dog. So dogs bark. Now, to park is actually to park the car. Yeah? So, there's this man who went to this police officer and he said, where can I bark?
You can
Bark.
bark everywhere.
Yeah, and the police officer said, okay, you can bark
Everywhere.
anywhere you want. Okay, what does this man wanted to say? What did he want to say? He wanted to say, where can I park my car?
Yes.
Park. Where can I park with a P? But he said, where can I bark? You mean bark like a dog? So the police officer laughed and he said, okay, you can bark anywhere you want. I don't care if you bark here or there. But what the man meant, where can I park my car with a P, just like Palestine? Okay, what was the problem? Pronunciation, not spelling. Pronunciation, okay? To spell something, it means, for example, P-A-R-K. This is spelling. To pronounce something, you say ba or pa. I'm not saying B or P. Remember, those are letters. We're talking about sounds. So when you talk about sounds, you say pa and ba. So it seems that this man had a problem with pronouncing the P. And that's what our Arab students suffer from. They cannot tell the difference between ba and pa. But in this class, we're going to learn what the difference is between these two sounds, so we can actually pronounce the words correctly. Also, I'm going to give you another other words. Write Pel, P as in Palestine, I-double-L. Then you have another word which is bell, B-I-double-L. So you have a Pel and you have a bell. Now, when you talk about the Pel, which is P as in Palestine, I-double-L, you take pills when you're sick. Yeah? When you talk about the bell, you talk about paying your pills. To pay, for example, the electricity bill. So if you say pill for bell, people will be confused. Are you talking about the bell or are you talking about the pill? You see what I'm talking about? Yeah? You see, if you actually say one sound for another, people will be confused. So bell and pill. Okay? To actually pronounce this, we're going to learn this in this class. For example, to pronounce the P, try to pronounce it with, let's say, a puff of air coming out of your mouth. You say P. So when I ask you where you're from, don't say I'm from Palestine. You're not from Palestine. You're from Palestine. Yeah? You're not from Ba. You're from Palestine. Okay? So, say, I can hear a lot of students saying, I'm from Palestine. And let's say native speakers of English would say, what? Where are you from? Say Palestine, say, oh, you mean Palestine, not Palestine. You see what I'm talking about? Actually, just like I said, Arabs, or we say Arab students, have a problem with that because in Arabic, we do not have two sounds, just like English, pa and ba. That's why we have a problem. And we cannot tell the difference between ba and pa. You can hear it. You can hear ba. You can hear it's a little bit louder than pa. Yeah? We're going to talk about the difference in a minute when we talk about actually about voicing. Let's continue. So we said we need to study phonetics because we need to know how to pronounce English words. How to pronounce English, or let's say to have a native-like accent. We cannot actually speak like native speakers. It's impossible to speak like them unless you were born or lived there for a long time. But if you actually learn phonetics, it would be easier for you to actually imitate the accent. Remember, you can learn any language in the world. It's easy if you practice. So this actually helps you hear the throat and the larynx inside it. They help you to pronounce sounds, let's say. They're actually made up of muscles. So if you practice these muscles, you can pronounce any sound in the word. Okay? So what we need to do in this phonetics class, we have to practice, 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 practice. Okay? Okay. So that was my question. Why do we need to study phonetics? So we can help improve our pronunciation. Oh, I think I have to touch PC. Okay. We're going to talk about something that we call the vocal tract. Okay? The vocal tract is actually a group of organs involved in the production of speech sounds. Okay, that sounds maybe a little bit complicated or advanced for you. Let's think about what parts of my body are used to make sounds. What parts of your body you use to make sounds? Mouth, tongue, larynx. We're going to talk about the larynx, don't worry. Uvula, the throat, the teeth, lips and teeth, nose sometimes, yeah? Vocal cords or vocal folds. We're going to talk about this. So we call all of that you mentioned the vocal tract. So the vocal tract is a group of organs involved in the production of speech sounds. So we use actually our lips, just like when you say ba. Am I using my lips? Yes. When you say, for example, fa, am I using my lips and teeth? Yes. When you say, for example, ka, I'm using my tongue also to pronounce ka, or ta, or da. So the mouth, the teeth, the lips, the larynx, which is in here, they help us to make sounds, to produce sounds. We call all of these organs, we call them the vocal tract. Okay. It says here, if you look at point number 2, for speech to occur, air must be forced up out of the lungs, up the trachea, which is called the windpipe, and into the vocal tract. What does that mean? Let's look at this. This is what our human body looks like. Yeah. So you have those are the lungs. Is that true? Yes. The lungs. Here is the diaphragm. We're not interested in the diaphragm. It actually helps to decrease or increase the size of the lungs for breathing. We're not interested in that. What I need you to know is we use our lungs, we use the air inside our lungs to speak. Can we speak without air? No. Of course not. So we need the air. Remember when I told you if you are in space and you're talking to someone, they cannot hear you. Why? Because you need air. In space, there's no air. So we need the air. And remember, when we said, what is the medium for speech? It's air. So we need the air inside our lungs in order to speak. So what happens is that the air is forced up trachea or the windpipe. What do you call that in Arabic? What do you call this? No? No? Yes. Can you say that out loud? Yes. This is the windpipe. Oh, sorry. I'm not supposed to touch that. Okay, I'm not that good with technology. Anyway, so you have the lungs, and we have a tube. Here's a tube that connects the lungs with the larynx. We call this tube, actually the air comes through that tube, okay? And we call this tube the windpipe, or we call the trachea. So you have the lungs, you have the windpipe or the trachea, and up here we have something that we call the larynx, or some people call it the voice box. So you can call it the larynx, or you can say it is the voice box. Okay? So what happens when we speak? Again, the air comes from the lungs up to the windpipe or the trachea to the larynx. Then it reaches our mouth. Yeah? So we need the air in order to speak. Also the lungs, the trachea, the larynx, they are also part of the vocal tract. They are vocal organs. Okay? Do we understand how we speak? Yes. When we actually breathe out. Can we speak when we breathe in? Try to speak when you breathe in.
No.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work when you actually breathe in and try to speak. It seems when someone, okay, imagine you're talking to a person who was running and they came to you doing like this. They cannot speak. Why? Because they're actually breathing in. So when do we speak? When we breathe out. Is this clear? Okay. Let's continue. So those are the lungs, the windpipe, the larynx. Okay. Just actually, if you go up a little bit, look at this. When you go here, you have the larynx. Now, up the larynx, what do we have? Those are the organs of speech. It means those are the organs that we use in order to speak. We're actually very lucky in here because I can show you the picture, the real picture. But for actually students in the other section, I have to draw this on the board. And it's really hard for me to do it because I'm not actually a good drawer. Okay, look at this. So we said we have here the trachea. This is the trachea. Okay, I'm not supposed to touch that. Okay. Okay, I'm going to look at it here. You see the trachea? Actually, a little bit. Oh, okay. There's a T. You see this? This is the trachea. We said, what is the trachea or the windpipe? It's a tube that connects the lungs to the larynx. Now, after the trachea, here the larynx. Yes, why does it say it's not the larynx? Yeah, here's the larynx. Do you see the larynx? Yeah. Inside the larynx, we have something that we call the vocal folds. Okay, so you have the trachea. The air comes up from the lungs to the larynx. And inside the larynx, we have something that we call the vocal folds. Now, in your textbook, it says the vocal cords. Okay, do not use this. Use the vocal folds because the vocal cords is not actually used. This term is not used in phonetics books anymore. It's not used, okay? So you say vocal folds. Try to change that. Write the vocal folds. Yes, you reminded me. You also have this in your article. Yes, this one. Yeah, it's the same. You see it? Okay. So what do you have here? Just like we said, it says here the vocal cords. As I said, try to change it. Say the vocal folds. So inside our larynx, which is the voice box, we have something that we call the vocal folds. Why do we need the vocal folds? I mean, are they just there for nothing? You make voice. Yeah? In order to have a voice, you need the vocal folds. So think about the vocal folds like that. Imagine my hands are the vocal folds. They're like this inside the larynx. But they're not touching. They're leaving a little space between them. This one is not clear. But if you think about the larynx, inside the larynx you have the vocal folds. And they're doing like this. A flap of muscle, another flap of muscle. And they're doing like this. They're leaving a little space between them. We're going to talk about what this space is called later. But they're doing like this. Now, when the air comes from the lungs to the larynx, what happens to the vocal folds? They move. Again, vocal folds inside the larynx, they look like this. When the air comes from the lungs, from here, what happens to these vocal folds? They move. They move repeatedly. That's why we call it vibration. What is a vibration scientifically? What is it? It means to move something repeatedly. So you say, for example, my mobile is vibrating. What does that mean? It's moving repeatedly. And that's what happened to the vocal folds. They vibrate. They do like this. And you can hear the voice. Do you understand why we need the vocal folds? Okay? Do you need me to say this again? No. Okay. Trachea or the windpipe. You have the larynx in here. And you have the vocal folds inside the larynx. Good? Why do I need the vocal folds? Because I need to hear voice. And what happens to these vocal folds? They vibrate. They look like this. They're not touching, okay? Both, we have two. We have two vocal folds. One in here and another one. They're actually nearly touching. They're doing like this. And when the air comes from the lungs, they move. Good? So we can hear voice. Now, up the vocal folds or the larynx, this is the esophagus. So actually, it connects, let's say, the oral cavity with the stomach. What do you call that in Arabic? Yes. It connects the oral cavity with the stomach. Yeah. So, esophagus is actually a tube that connects the stomach with the oral cavity. Do we need this in speaking? No, we don't need it. Okay? This one we don't need it in speaking. So we cannot say it's part of the vocal organs. It's only there just to make things clear, okay? So we don't need this in speech. I don't need this, yeah? Then, of the larynx, also the epiglottis is not important in speech. The epiglottis just closes the esophagus when you actually speak, so the food would not come to your larynx. This is actually from your science book in school when you talked about the parts of the human body. Yeah, this is not actually our main focus of this lecture. What are the parts of the body of the human head and what their functions are? My main focus of this lecture is what are the organs of speech. Do I need the epiglottis in speech? No. What happens to the epiglottis? It closes this when you actually speak. So when you actually eat, sorry. So no food would come into the larynx. We're not interested in that. So far, we're interested in vocal folds, trachea, larynx. Okay. Up the larynx, we have something that we call the pharynx. Okay? Okay, I'm not sure what that exactly means in Arabic, but this is the pharynx. It's actually the tube that connects the oral cavity with the larynx. If you're confused about these terms, please look them up. Okay? I'm not sure what is the scientific term in Arabic is, so look them up. But what we know about the pharynx, it is the tube that connects the oral cavity with the larynx. It's here, it's clear here. So where is it? Okay, where is it? It's here. This is the pharynx. Connects the oral cavity with the larynx. Okay? Okay, we don't need the pharynx in English. You're going to see the pharynx is not important in English, but it's important in Arabic. Because we use the pharynx to pronounce sounds in Arabic just like the a and the ha. So when you pronounce ha and a in Arabic, you use the pharynx. And we call them pharyngeal sounds. Okay, we're going to talk about this. Don't worry. We're going to talk about all sounds and the place of articulation or the place of production of these sounds. We now have to know what are the organs of speech. Okay, up the pharynx, we have here something that we call the uvula. The uvula, here it is. Look at it. Here's the uvula. It's actually when you open your mouth, you're looking at the mirror, you open your mouth, you see something hanging down at the back of your mouth. What is it? We call that the uvula. Okay? You're going to see also we do not need this part in speech in Arabic or in English. In other languages, yes, they may use it, but not in Arabic or English. Okay? So this is the uvula. When you go home, I need you to look at the mirror and open your mouth and to see all of these parts. When you see the back of your mouth, this is the pharynx. A little bit something that is hanging down at the back of your mouth, it's called the uvula. It actually moves sometimes, yeah. Now after the uvula, we have something that we call the soft palate. Do you see it? Okay, you can feel that with the back of your mouth. Try to feel it. Use your tongue to feel the back of your mouth. Right next to the uvula, there's something really soft. Can you feel it? Yeah. This soft part is called the soft palate. Or we can call it the velum. Use the word velum, it's better. Use velum. V-E-L-U-M. Velum. V-E-L-U-M. Velum. So the soft palate is also called the velum. Now, after the soft part, we have a very hard, bony part. So you're feeling, try to feel it. Let's try to feel it together. Use your tongue. So there is actually a very soft part. And if you go a little bit forward, you have a very hard part at the roof of your mouth. Can you feel it? It's really hard. We call this hard palate. So again, you have at the back of your mouth the uvula. Then if you go forward a little bit, you have something really soft that we call the soft palate. Or we can call it the velum. A little bit forward, you have something that we call the hard palate. And if you go a little bit forward, next to your teeth, yes, this is the alveolar ridge. You can feel it has some kind of ridges, something like that, when you touch it, right behind your teeth. Can you feel it? This one is called the alveolar ridge. And after the alveolar ridge, we have the teeth, then we have the lips. Okay, I'm not going to talk about parts of the tongue now. You have it here also, the parts of the tongue. We're going to talk about this later. I'm interested now in parts of speech or, organs of speech. Again, let's do this again really quickly. So, down here, you have the lungs. Then there's a tube that connects the lungs with the larynx. The tube is called trachea, or you can call it the windpipe. And then the air comes from the lungs to the larynx. Inside the larynx, this is the larynx. Inside the larynx, what do we have? The vocal folds. Why do we need the vocal folds? To make voice or to make sounds. And when we said the vocal folds, they're like two flaps of muscles. They move. They vibrate. Then, up the vocal folds, we have the pharynx. The pharynx is the back of your mouth. So if you open your mouth and look at the mirror, you're going to see the back of your mouth. The back of your mouth is the pharynx. Okay? Up the pharynx, we have the uvula. It's something that is hanging down at the back of your mouth. Yeah? It looks like this, and it moves. Then after the uvula, you have a very soft part of your mouth, and we call that the soft palate or the velum. Then, at the roof of your mouth, you have a very hard bony structure or very hard bony part. We call that the hard palate. Then, you have the alveolar ridge, which is right after your teeth, right after your upper teeth. You can feel it. It has something like this, ridges. Yeah? Then you have the teeth. Then you have the lips. Then you have the tongue, of course. All of these organs are very important in producing speech or producing sounds. Do you have any questions about this diagram? Okay, you have to understand and remember and be able to label the diagram. So if you got this in the first exam, for example, can we tell where the alveolar ridge is? Can we tell where the nasal cavity or the soft palate or the hard palate are? The alveolar ridge is something you can feel after your upper teeth. So those are my upper teeth right after it. You can feel it? So those are your teeth right after your upper teeth. There's my upper teeth right after. You can feel it. It's the alveolar ridge.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. And you can feel it has something like this. Can you feel it?
Yes.
You can't feel it? Okay. What I need you to do now is to use the tip of your tongue to touch the area after your teeth. Can you feel it's really hard? You can't feel it? Okay, you can feel it. Good. So this is the alveolar ridge, yeah? Okay? You can do this at home. What you need to do is to look at the mirror and try to open your mouth and see the parts. Okay? In order to understand phonetics, we have to understand the organs of speech. Do you have any questions about this? Other questions? No? Are you sure? If you need something, we could talk about it again. Okay. Good. After the organs of speech, we're going to talk about sounds of language. Now, the sounds of language are classified into two groups. We have the consonants and we have the vowels. Okay? Again, sounds of any language are divided into two groups. You have the consonants and you have the vowels. The consonants, just like, for example, the sa and the ta. Notice that I'm actually using square brackets. Square brackets. Why? To say this is a sound, this is not a letter. So for the letters, you do not use square brackets. I use square brackets in phonetics to say this is a sound. It means this is the sound ta and not the letter T. This is the sound sa and not the letter S. Okay? So this is these two examples are of consonants, and then you have vowels. Vowel just like E. Okay, it's the letter I, but it's the sound E. This is the letter E. Sorry, the sound E. But it's the letter E. You see what I'm talking about? So letters are different from sounds. And I'm using square brackets to say this is a sound. Again, So this is the sound sa. You notice I'm using square brackets. Sound sa and the sound ta. If you look at the vowels, you have the sound e and you have the sound e. But if you read them as letters, you would say this is I-E. Okay? But this is the sound E and this is E. E in just like, for example, beat. Beat, the sound E. This is what I use to represent the sound E. Now this is E, just like bet. Head. Yeah? Bet is actually E. Beat is E. We use this. We're going to learn how to transcribe. You're going to see, we call this phonetic transcription. We're going to learn how to represent sounds using phonetic symbols. Okay? Okay, first of all, we're going to study consonants, Okay? We're going to leave vowels for later, but we're going to start with what? With consonants. Good? Okay. Classification of consonants, it means how can we describe consonants? How can we study consonants? Okay? What do you mean you're going to study consonants? It means how can we describe them? Number one, we can describe the consonants using something that we call voicing. It means, is this consonant voiced or voiceless? Don't worry, we're going to talk about this in details. I'm just introducing what the things are, that we're going to talk about, Number two, we're going to also learn the place of articulation of these consonants. It means the location of the production of this consonant. For example, I'll give you an example for place of articulation. Let's say the sound ba. What is the location? Lips. So the place of articulation, remember the word articulation is the same as production. Okay? So articulation of sounds is the same as production of sound. So we say place of articulation, you say the location. Just like I said, the sound ma. Lips. The sound fa.
Upper teeth and lower lip.
Exactly. Upper teeth and lower lip. Try to say fa again. Fa. I'm using my upper teeth with lower lip. This is the place of articulation. We're going to talk about this in details. Okay? Number three, we're going to talk about manner of articulation. Manner of articulation is actually how you produce these sounds. For example, how do I produce the sound ma? I'm using the nasal cavity. I'm using my nose to produce the sound na and ma. So the manner of articulation, we're going to study this in details, don't worry. The manner of articulation, it means how we produce this sound physically. What do we use and how we do it. Okay? For this class, we actually have 20 minutes for this class. So we're going to start with voicing. Then we're going to talk about the other 2 points in details. Let's see. Voicing. So voicing is a term used in phonetics to characterize speech sounds with sounds described either voiced or voiceless. The question is, what does that mean? Let's go back. Let's go back here. Remember what I told you? What's inside the larynx?
Vocal folds.
Vocal folds. Again, what do you find inside your larynx? This is your larynx. You see the larynx? What's inside the larynx? The vocal folds. Now, we said the vocal folds look like flaps of muscles. Now, when I pronounce the sound za, for example, I say z. My vocal folds are going to move. How can I tell if there's a vibration or not? We're going to do this experiment together. We're going to use our fingertips. Let's do this together. Use your fingertips to touch your throat. Are you touching your throat? Now try to say zzz. Can you feel a vibration? Yes. Is this sound voiced or voiceless? Voiced. Again, we have actually 2 tests. Test number 1, use your fingertips, touch your throat, and say zzz. Say zzz. Can you feel the vibration? Yeah. Yes. What is this vibration? It's my vocal folds doing like this. So the sound, for example, za, and the sound the, they are voiced. Now, let's try to do let's try to do this test for the sound fa. Let's try our fingertips on our throat and say, is there a vibration? No. So how can you describe this sound? It is voiceless. Good. Let's try to do this sound for sa. Let's say voiceless. So this is voicing. This is voicing. This is voicing. It means we're going to describe the consonants as voiced or voiceless. How can I tell if this sound is voiced or voiceless? I'm going to use my fingertips and I'm going to touch my throat and I'm going to say s. So the sound sa is voiceless. I'm going to say z. This is actually voice. Also, there's another test actually. You can use your fingertips and try to close your ears. Try to close your ears and you say z. Can you feel a vibration in your bone structure? Yes, but try to say s. No vibration. So this is a voiceless sound. Is this clear what we're doing here? This is voicing. So we said number one, to describe the consonants. To describe the consonants, we use something that we call the voicing. It means, is this sound voiced or voiceless? What does it mean, voiced? It means there's a vibration in the vocal folds. They do like this. Now, what happens when I pronounce a voiceless sound, just like s? My vocal folds do like this. They are actually apart. They spread to let the air come through. Again, with voice sounds, what happens to my vocal folds? They do like this, and you can feel the vibration. Now, with voiceless sounds, what happens to my vocal folds? They separate, they do like this, and let the air come through. Is this clear? Yes. Okay. I wrote this here. Yes, this is what it looks like. Okay, it should be vocal folds. But this is what I found over the internet. I couldn't find something really clear with the vocal folds. But let's try to change this. Instead of chords, let's say folds. Okay? So you have vocal folds. This is the larynx. Do you see the larynx? Do you see what they look like? They look like this. And they live like a very small space between them. So what happens when I say, for example, this is the trachea, which is the windpipe, that connects with the lungs. So what happens when I say, for example, zzz? These two vocal folds, they do like this. Move really quickly. They vibrate. That's why I use the word vibrate. It means they move repeatedly, doing like this. Okay. Now what happens to my vocal folds when we pronounce a voiceless sound? They separate and they leave a big space for the air to come through. So when you say s, no vibration. So this is a voiceless sound. Do we understand the mechanism now? Yes. Do you have any questions about voicing? Okay, I have a practice for you. A practice. Yeah, here, before I continue, I actually wrote this on slide. So let's read this together. And point number one, when the vocal folds are spread apart, yeah, the air this is from, not form. The air from the lungs passes between them freely. Why? Because the vocal folds are separated. They let the air come through freely. Sounds produced in this way are described as voiceless. It means there is no vibration in the vocal folds. It means my vocal folds are separated to let the air pass from the lungs freely. Good? You have examples of voiceless sound just like s and no vibration. Okay, notice I'm using not actually fa. Because if you say fa, you're going to feel a little bit of vibration. That's because of the vowel and not because of the consonant. Okay? So when the vocal folds are drawn together doing like this. The air from the lungs repeatedly pushes them apart as it passes through. So the air is coming from the lungs. Because of the air, the air actually moves them. Air coming like that and doing like this with the vocal folds. So they move, creating a vibration effect. Okay? Sounds produced in this way are described as voice. You have examples of voice sounds, za and va. So if I asked you, can you describe the sound sa for me? It's a voiceless sound. Can you describe the sound the? It's a voice sound, and so on. I have a practice for you. Practice. Decide if the following sounds are voiced or voiceless. You have 5 minutes to do it. 5 minutes. So look at this practice. What we need to do. Notice I'm using V minus for voiceless. Sorry. It's actually V plus. Yes. There's a mistake in here. Let me change it really quickly. So this is voice plus. So voiced, it means V plus. It means this sound is actually voiced. Then you have voiceless sound. How can we actually test that? Remember, you cannot remember all the sounds and if they are voiced or voiceless. Do a little test, even in your exam. Do a little test. Try to use your fingertips and touch your throat to feel the vocal folds inside your larynx. 5 minutes to do this. You can discuss the answers with your partner, okay? You can talk to each other and try to discuss the answer. You're done? Okay, let's do this. So the question is, decide if the following sounds are voiced or voiceless. Remember, we can perform a little test, which is you can use the fingertips and touch your throat so you can feel the vocal folds inside your larynx. Let's do it. The first one. First one, yes. What's your name?
Zena.
Zena, yes, Zena.
It's a voiceless.
Voiceless. How do you know? What did you do? So Zena used her fingertips and she touched her throat to feel if there's a vibration in her vocal folds or not. What did you find?
There is no vibration.
Exactly, say ka, ka. So actually there's no vibration. Remember, if you can feel a little bit of vibration, this is because of the vowel a when you say ka. But when you start saying ka, there's actually no vibration.
Number 2, no vibration.
Ga?
Yes.
Vibration.
There's a vibration actually. It is a voice sound. Ga. Ga. So actually, you can feel the difference. Ka and ga. Ka and ga. Yeah? Ka is a voiceless sound. Voiceless. We can write that. Ka. Ka is a voiceless sound. Voiceless. So this is voiceless. And this one. Okay, we're missing an E in here. And here, this is Because when I actually use my fingertips to touch my throat, there is a vibration in my vocal folds. Ga. Next. Next, yes. Voiceless, yes. The sound ta is a voiceless sound. Ta. It's not actually just like da. When you say da, voice. Ta is voiceless. Remember, as I said, if you feel a little bit vibration when you say ta, it's not because of the consonant. It is because of the vowel a when you say ta. Okay? So ta is a voiceless sound. Let me write that for you. Voiceless. And number 4? Number 4, yes.
And number 4, voice.
Voice. Try to say, Is there a vibration in here?
Yes.
Yes. Notice also using your nose. You're using your nose when you pronounce the sound ma. Ma is a voice sound because there's a vibration in the vocal folds inside the larynx. Okay? So ma is a voiced sound. Notice how we describe these consonants. You say, for example, ka. How can I describe it? I can say ka is a voiceless sound. How can you describe the sound ma? It is a voice sound, and so on. So we use these sounds for description. Yes, Lama. Not H, ha. If you say H, this is the letter. Yeah. If you say ha, this is the sound. Okay? Voiceless. So say no vibration. Don't say. There's no vibration in my vocal folds when I try to pronounce ha. So this is a voiceless sound. Voiceless. It means there is no vibration in the vocal folds. One of my questions was in like last year maybe. We gave them a question in the final exam, or maybe the first, I cannot remember. What is the difference between voiceless sounds and voiced sounds? What would you say? What is the difference, Ahmed?
The voiced sound vibrate, but the voiceless don't.
What is vibrating?
The
Vocal folds. You have to be very clear, okay? So you say the answer is voiceless sounds do not have vibration in the vocal folds, but voice sounds have vibration in the vocal folds. If you say this, you get a full mark for the question. Do you have any questions about this? Questions? Is this difficult? No. Yeah, it is fun as well. Also, we can understand the differences between sounds. Let's go back to the sound pa and ba. Which one is voiceless and which one is voiced? Which one, Amir?
Pa is voiceless.
Very good. And ba
Voiceless.
is voiced. So when you say bark, you're using the voice sound ba. When you say park, you're using the voiceless sound pa. It means the sound pa has a vibration in the vocal folds, but the sound pa does not have a vibration in the vocal folds. It's voiceless, yes. That's why you say park and bark. Can you see the difference when I pronounce it? When I say park and bark, you can actually feel the vibration when you say ba. Good so far? Do you have any questions? Okay, let's see what we have in the textbook to see how can you study that, how you can study this. Let's see. So in your article, what you can find this. The same thing they actually displayed here. This one, those are the vocal organs. Why do we need to study the vocal organs? Because we need to study or to know how we produce sounds. We talked about this, and you can look at this. You can study this at home. Also, you have another one on page 42. You have another one on page 42 here. Can you see it? Yes. Yes. So you can study it from here, or you can use this. Okay? Also remember, you have to know, or you have to be able to label the diagram. So if I give you this without labels, and I have these arrows, you have to know this is the pharynx, this is the larynx, this is the oral cavity, this is the nasal cavity. Okay, remember the word oral is the adjective of the word mouth. So mouth is a noun. Oral is an adjective of the word mouth. Now nasal, what does it mean? It is the adjective of the word nose. So you say mouth, oral, and when you say nose, nasal. Cavity, it means something hollow. This is hollow, yeah? So the hollow part here is called the oral cavity, and the hollow part here is called the nasal cavity. Okay? So as I said, you have another one here. Study these diagrams very carefully, okay? What else we have here? Okay. If you look at, yes? Did I ask a question? Okay. If you look at page 41, here they talk about branches of phonetics. Okay, I did not talk about this at the beginning of this class because you're going to be very, very confused. That's why we're going to leave this for when we actually finish the chapter. Okay? I'm not going to talk about this because you're going to be confused. About branches of phonetics. Phonetics also has branches, just like linguistics has branches. Okay, we're going to talk about this later, but I'm talking about the first paragraph, okay? Leave it for now. We're going to talk about this when we finish the chapter, and please remind me that we need to talk about this, okay? Look at this. You have articulation. The word articulation means production. So, articulation, it means production. Remember, we said we classify sounds into two groups. We have consonants and we have vowels. How do we describe consonants? Number one, with voicing. It means, is this sound a voice sound or a voiceless? Okay, if you look at this part, they actually explain how we produce voiceless sounds and voice sounds. Okay, if you look at one, they talk about, it's the same thing that I had on my slide. When the vocal folds are spread apart, the air from the lungs passes between them freely or unimpeded. Unimpeded means freely, okay? Or uninterrupted. Sounds produced in this way I described as voices, and just like we said, our vocal folds, they actually separate. Now, if you look at number 2, our vocal folds, they draw together. They're really close to each other, and when the air comes from the lungs, they actually move, vibrate. You have this, and you have examples, of course. If you look at this place of articulation, we did not talk about this, okay? We're going to talk about place of articulation in the next lecture. Do you have any questions? No? That's enough for today. That's enough.